stand for the invocation by Henry and followed by the flag salute.
Father in heaven, we gather here today to partake in this great blessing you have given us, the blessing of being able to elect our representatives and to partake in our government. Lord, we thank you for that great blessing, and we pray that you will inspire all of us to stand up for and keep this institution alive. Lord, I pray that you give guidance and wisdom to our commissioners today, that they can make prudent decisions in the matters before them. And Lord, make us all mindful of the teachings of your Son when he told us to love the Lord your God with all your heart and your mind, and to love one another as he has loved you. I would pray, Lord, that with this holiday season coming up, that you touch the hearts of every citizen of Marion County. When you see a county employee or a city employee or a state employee, shake their hand, tell them that they have done a wonderful job. Sometimes, Lord, we forget about these people and some of the hardships that they have to endure. Let us take time to show some appreciation. Lord, we thank you for the blessings we have. And Lord, I offer this prayer today in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I just set this up here?
Certainly. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Actually, first thing, of course, is administrative.
I have the minutes of October 29 and October 31st.
Okay, so we have the minutes of October the 29th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of October 29th as written?
I'll make a motion to accept the October 29th.
Motion by Kent.
Second.
Second by Randy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes of October 31st. Do I have?
Make a motion to accept it, presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Randy to accept those minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
This is for signature for the 29th.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, next we have some early checks.
Okay, so it looks like we have transport fuel in the amount of $20,696.55. Also looks like we have got striping from Road and Bridge for $30,343.55. And that looks like that's that.
And while you're signing that, I just want to remind you that we are doing Canvas tomorrow at 9 a.m. And then we have some salary sheets.
It's like quite a stack of salary sheets. Wow. Okay, so this is for Sharon Olmsted to go from $26.43 a month to $31.20. And we have Sharon Dover, 5-year longevity, $21.48 to $21.82. We also have Montana Purcell, new appraiser, 6-month raise. Oh, I'm sorry, new
Appraiser
appraiser,
one.
she's a new one, 1877. Thank you, I know I did that right. What are we doing?
Pass them behind your back.
And then we have Brandon Meyerhoff,
Where?
Meyerhoff. And he's also a new hire for planning and zoning assistant for $2,061 a month. We have got Shannon Allen, 6-month raise as equipment operator. Transfer station from $22.67 to $23.10 a month. We have Doug Hanson, 6-month raise for equipment operator number 2 transfer station from $24.86 to $25.34. Leslie Meador.
I think so.
Meador. Okay, and this is the new driver's license examiner clerk. We have got a new part-time EMT, Anthony Wyatt, at $12 an hour. A new part-time paramedic, Robert Huyert, at $15 an hour. Oh, you came to the bottom of the pile.
Add a name, please. Okay, we have a certificate to sign for the Diamond Vista project. It has been reviewed by Sharon, Brad, and Pat Hughes.
Okay, now before we sign that, that's interesting, because I was in contact with Pat Hughes and he advised not to sign it. So I have an email from him. He says that if we sign that, that renders our road maintenance agreement void, or it can. So, he thinks we need to go in and maybe redo that. I can read it out loud, or I can just let you read it, whatever you want, but I'm not gonna sign it at this time.
Well, go ahead, I trust what you say, I just
Okay.
wanna see what which.
Okay,
no,
well,
what I'm
You wanna
talking
see
about
what it
is-
says?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, what is his point for rendering that?
Okay, well, what he is
Void.
saying is, Okay, hang on just a minute. Let me get into that just a minute. Okay, so he says, I sent him a copy of the document, and he
Okay.
says, I have seen the document you referred to, and I made some revisions to the original version. However, I did not weigh in on the question of whether the things it asked you to certify, like there was full compliance with the road maintenance agreement, are actually true. From the pictures, it is clear that it is not or has been a problem. I also sent him some pictures of the roads that we had based on the road maintenance agreement. And so he said, from the pictures, it is clear that it is not or it has been a problem. If you decide that you want to ramp up the pressure, one way would be to revise the document in question to recite what is going on, the problems are. They probably want this document in connection with some financing of some sort, that it would be a problem for us, the county, to assert. And there are significant unresolved road issues and deficiencies. If you sign the document as it is currently presented, you may lose the right to complain about breaches of the RMA that were unresolved at the time you solved. Signed, Pat Hughes. And this is dated yesterday.
Okay.
I wonder if Tina and Sharon, everybody got that email?
I don't know, but I know that I am going to take his advice and not sign it the way it is currently, and maybe get back into contact with him or something, because I think it's too risky at this time to sign that.
Well, he and Brad then need to get together and see what the wording needs to be. Is Brad gonna be here this morning?
And honestly, you know, Pat Hughes is the one who we hired for the road.
Right,
For
but it's-
Vista, and he's the one that really is knowledgeable on that.
Yeah.
Not taking anything
Yeah.
away from.
I mean, just so
Brad.
Brad can weigh in on it and know what's going on.
So, Ed, did you see, see, I think we're kind of signing off on the road maintenance agreement somehow.
Yeah.
I didn't like it when I read it, so that's why I made
To hold off?
to hold off, unless you, but
No, that's fine. I think we
that's
need to
what
have
he
that, we
advised.
need to have that
Yeah.
answered.
Well, I think both of them need to be together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
Who provided us with that copy? Is that the Lynn Farm did?
no, it was in my packet.
Yeah, I know, but who provided it? Who-
The wind company sent it.
That's what I
out.
thought.
Yes. Mhm.
Next, I have a request that Catherine Young would like to have access to the zoning digital maps. Are we okay with that? Any objective to it?
I know Tina said something about that at a meeting previous, but she never gave a final
I
suggestion.
think I asked if it was any security issues.
You
That's
know,
what I
she
think I
said
asked.
she didn't think there was, but, I mean, the way I took that away was she didn't think there was, but she didn't actually say, no, there's not, let's do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, if it would help her do her job and for some reason, I can understand it, you know. I have no problem with that. But should we wait till we see if they get a director or?
I think we should. What do you think, Ken?
I mean, I don't really know what she needs them for at this
Well, I-
point
we need
without a
to-
director.
Okay, so I think we'll table that for a while.
I need to schedule you guys to do some upcoming department head evals. When would you guys be interested in doing that?
Okay, so you want us all to get together?
Yeah, you'll have to,
What are
I don't
some
know
of
if
the
you wanna do
dates?
it in an afternoon from a meeting or come a different day.
Do you have any dates that you're throwing out at us? Or?
No, I don't.
Okay. Anybody have any suggestions that works best for them?
Is there yearly evals of
Department heads.
department heads? This is where we fill the sheet out, right?
Uh-huh.
I think next week I'm free.
So you're talking about the 19th, the week of the 19th?
Yeah. Well, is that the week of,
That's
no,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yeah, that's Thanksgiving
that's
weekend.
Thanksgiving, so,
So Tuesday and Thursday would probably be out.
you know.
I'm sorry, Thursday and Friday.
Yeah,
You wanna do the last week of the month, the 26th?
yeah, unless you wanna do one next week on the, like the 20th or something.
I can't do the
Okay,
20th.
all right,
I have a dentist appointment.
I've got meetings 20th too.
okay.
Okay.
Wait till the next week then, I guess,
Yeah.
unless you wanna do one this week.
How long is our canvassing supposed to take tomorrow? Is it a half a day, or do we know?
It could take a couple hours, I don't know how
At
long.
least a half a
The
day.
last time took a couple hours.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanna go in the afternoon on the 19th, or, you could do the afternoon of the 26th.
Either one of them would be fine for me. Those are our regular meetings.
The 27th is open.
Maybe it'd be better just to do it in the afternoon on meeting day.
It's either that or tomorrow tomorrow afternoon. I'm open tomorrow afternoon too. Up to everybody else.
It doesn't matter to me. Like I say, we could do it either the afternoon or the
If we're
Monday
gonna do it
for.
tomorrow afternoon, let's do it right after the canvas, because we
Yeah.
can be done with that canvas at
Okay, yeah.
10:30, 11
Right,
o'clock.
okay. Yeah, just put some on there and we can go till noon. If we get done at noon, or, I mean, if we don't get done, we can quit or whatever.
Yeah.
Come back and do another.
We can start tomorrow.
And then I have one more thing for you. We were notified that Dave Owen is not going to be our EMS director.
Correct. I was gonna bring that up.
Are you wanting to look at some evals now or later today?
Oh, you mean applications?
Or applications, I'm sorry,
Yeah, we wanna go back to the applications and reiterate a little bit, yeah.
later? Okay.
Perhaps right after this meeting. Because I do have an appointment this afternoon.
Okay. Otherwise, that is all I have.
Okay. Do you have anything else? Okay, so then next on the agenda would be Rebecca.
Morning.
Morning.
Things are rolling along in the Register of Deeds Department. The biggest change that you probably need to be aware of is that when the state legislature reset the fees for recording will not change in 2019, but there will be no more mortgage registration fee. This year, up until last Friday, we had taken in $18,505 in mortgage reg fee. To give you a comp, because the fee has gone down for mortgage reg fee and filing fees have gone up. Last year at this same time, the mortgage registration fees were $33,885. So that's something that we will not have anymore, but the fees for filing will stay the same. I have been working on the COOP plan, which is the continuity of operation plan that we're all supposed to be working on. It's been interesting trying to think of exactly what we need and what we would absolutely have to have in the event of an absolute emergency. One of the things that has come up with this is my microfilm and my backup microfilm are both in my vault. The county has talked for quite a while about some kind of storage facility. My question is, where are you on that? So that possibly I can get the backup microfilm out of my vault and into another place.
I don't think we have an answer for that yet. We don't have a definite designated place to store things yet, do we, Randy?
No, but
We've
that
been-
was, the storage facility was supposed to be right over there. And it's been taken away. Where are you at in Hutch? I mean, do we have anything in the salt mine?
We have backups in the salt mines. We also have backups with micrographics in St. Joe, Missouri. But the actual physical cards themselves, both sets are in my vault. And it would be nice for those times when we have a bunch of researchers to get rid of those huge filing cabinets that are in my back room.
Where you went to think of these ideas?
In terms of where to store things?
No, and where to continue operations.
That's been difficult because it's something that the entire county needs to work together on. I think rather than having deeds office at this building and treasurer's office at that building and appraiser's office at another building, and planning and zoning, because we all work so closely together. I think that's something that maybe we need a department head meeting and everybody needs to get together along with Lloyd and decide, okay, worst case scenario, where are we going to go and what are we going to do?
Have you happened to make a contact with Greensburg?
I have not.
I mean, we was in office when Greensburg got, or at least I was, when Greensburg got wiped out. And, you know, there was pictures of the roof off of the courthouse and stuff like that. And I think there's a county that's already been through it, where they would help you maybe make some decisions. I don't know.
Right.
I'm just suggestion.
I'm pretty much shooting in the dark,
Yeah.
so that would be a good resource.
I just thought maybe they would
Well,
help us.
even Case County, you know, several years ago, they had to move completely out of the courthouse when they were renovating.
When they was renovating.
Yeah, they,
Right.
everything was out of there.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
So they might be a pretty good resource.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot that I had never really thought about, so it's just kind of
Yeah.
interesting to think about all these different things. Okay, we are, as you know, taking the old documents from the microfilm, scanning them into the computer system so that we will have a record of those. For mortgages, we're back now to 1998. For deeds, we're back to 1998. And the miscellaneous, which is like oil and gas leases and death certificates, that kind of thing, we're back to 1992. We're continuing to work on that. And I think we will be doing that when they push me out of my wheelchair.
Sure.
So that's all I have.
You gonna be here that long?
Well,
No.
one never knows.
How's that?
That's all you have?
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, that brings up some interesting points that the commission really more now, since we know that we're headed to a 5-member commission and stuff. Besides storage facility, office facility, we have planning zoning over here in our rented building. And it is definitely time for us to expand a little bit. The expansions, if you want to look back, I don't know where the plans are, there were some expansion plans for this facility, for this parking lot, and this right here with that building to go down, pretty high cost. I still feel that a metal building is probably the easiest way to, or the most reasonable place to go to for expansion. But there is a base over there, 80 by 90 or something like that, it's ready to, it's been rocked, base packed and everything, probably be needed again, but somewhere we need to do something. I mean, for office facility, storage facility, and I think we need to look at what all we do need real quick like and see if we can put something together. I don't know if the tax deal in the elections, only one, and I don't know what it was, don't know what the question was, but all sales tax issues passed except for one, Trego County, and I don't know what Trego County was asking for. But that was a, sales tax seemed to pass in this election. Whether we would like to try that for a building to put up, I don't know, that's just suggestions. But we do need storage, office facility, and take a look at what we can possibly do.
Well, it'd be nice if we could get a cost estimate on a certain size building with offices in it, and then look and see what was the best avenue of finance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to see us move ahead with something, just
Well,
at least
I mean,
present it to ourselves.
We also have the issue of this Boron building. It's full of stuff in the upstairs.
Yes.
I don't know where that's gonna go. A lot of it's district court
Yeah,
material.
yeah, that's another one too, coming up. I think, and we're paying $250 or so a month at co-op over there
Yep.
right now for storage over there. If they decide to move us out, then we're gonna move all of our stuff back out in the open again, so. That's just some I think that needs to be on our plans and needs to be looked at, sort of decide, maybe come up with something. But like you said, Ken, I think give somebody a go-ahead for so much money to present us a metal building over there, and there's some spacing over there that I'll show you over there, what we can do and what we can't do, and then get with the city planning and zoning to make sure that we're within their guidance.
Well, I mean, it only makes sense because that's part of the campus and
Yeah.
that was the original intent.
Yeah. Will take us some time, but I think we need to get started probably.
Okay. Jesse, you're next.
Pardon me. First off, thank you guys for
Well,
allow me
over
to.
that,
I got some stuff
oh, you
right
got
now.
some stuff for
Yeah.
us. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I thought you were gonna try to take a quick seat there.
No. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to come in and take a few moments of your time. I'll make it quick. I know you guys are busy.
Can I have one, please?
And you have an extra one to the press as well then.
I do not. I got this, but I don't have
Okay.
that.
Okay, we'll get your copy.
Okay. And I got a second item I wanted to briefly discuss with you. When I get finished, I can give them my copy. Okay.
Either way.
All right.
Thank you.
First thing I'd like to ask you about is the pagers. Tampa ambulance used to have pagers, which allowed us to not have to wear our radio. We kept our radios close by, but when we got the new radios, we were basically told if we screwed them up, we had to pay $2,500 to replace them. And a lot of us do work that is not real conducive to being easy on these radios. They get knocked off your side when we're out working on the farm or whatever. And so what I've done is I've got a quote for you, and what I'm asking is if you would think about cost sharing with us. Like I said, we had bought our own pagers before. We'd come up with our own funding on it, and I've been in contact with TBS. TBS is who we got our radio system from, and they would do all the programming to make it work like it's supposed to work with our new system. They did tell us that the old system, we wouldn't have had got pagers if we would have maintained the old repeater and system, and they could have programmed it to where when they paged out, the dispatch would only page out on one page out on the 800 side, and it would automatically would have done the 400 pagers, but they're no longer there, so that equipment. But there's several items on there that I've put on there that it would save the wear and tear of the expenses being on the expensive radios being dropped and pumped and working. It would allow for voice storage, which we do not have now. It used to be able to replay our pages. It would give us up to 32 minutes of voice storage and 32 minutes of text storage, which we won't probably use the texting, but we sure would use the other. When we're in public events such as church, school events, wherever it might be, currently we have to have the radio on, and we might be down the street at church from the fire station where the ambulance is at, and then it disrupts the whole service. So we could put it on a vibrate mode on the pager, walk outside, replay it. We'll know we got paid because of the vibration, just like we had before. There are two pagers that they have. One's a G5 and one's a G4. The G5 is a 400/800. Normally, it would cost $100 more. They have on your pricing there a promotional price that would take us through the end of the year on protection on that. And we could use it if we're with another agency that is working on 400. We could flip it over to the 400 and use it either way, but we would primarily be using it on the 800 side to match up with what we currently get when we are using our radios. It does have a 2-year standard warranty, 3-year additional warranties available. They are waterproof and dust protected, and they can be submerged up to 3 foot for 30 minutes, which we have had pagers and radios dropped into water, and they don't tend to come out too well. Like I said, TBS will do all the programming to match, and the G5 pager normally without the promotion, it's $625.60, and we have our people over there. We're not going to ask for a lot of them. We have our people that would take out of their own pockets or however matching funds. So we would ask, it's a 600 with a charger base with it. It's $606.70 for each unit, and we would like to, pay half of it. And the reason we would like to do that is because more than one reason, but one reason is you're going to have other people saying, "Hey, you got them a pager, we want one too," and that would, if anybody's willing to cough up half of it like that, like we are, it'd be $303.35 per person. So that might prevent everybody else just wanting to get on Me Too bandwagon, So, like I said, we're asking the county if you would please think about doing a cost share on it. We take our service over there, and I know you guys do as well, very, very seriously. I have done a lot of research on these pagers, and the cheapest I could find them after several quotes on, online with the internet, TVS was by far the cheaper of the units. So I didn't get other information on other ones, but they were less expensive. So
How many pagers you talking about?
3.
3?
I'd like to have 4, but we'll be happy with 3. Be Ron Mueller. The 3 people that take the most call is Ron Mueller, myself, and Francie. And Mark Wavy currently has one of these pagers, and it's the G5, and that was supplied to him by the Roxbury McPherson County, and he's got it currently programmed to be able to be utilized on the 400, which they use, and the 800 as well. And it works. He told me it works very well.
He's on your ambulance.
He is one of our crew members. He's also, I think, fire chief for Roxbury, if I'm not mistaken. But we didn't want to just go into this right away. We wanted to get some experience with some of these things, make sure they were going to work for us. And Mark's got that experience, and he's very comfortable with it and works very well for him.
So you're only asking for 3?
At this time, I'd like to have 4, and the only reason before, but we can wait on that, is we have a 4th person that is living right there in Tampa that's currently taking the course, the EMT course, and they're almost, I guess what I've been told, they're almost finished with it, and she lives right there in Tampa. So currently, we want to get her out there to go with us, but she doesn't have a radio. We've asked for a radio, but for sound reasons, Bob has decided that's probably, maybe he's worked with you on that, but it's not a good idea in case they don't pass or whatever, how are you going to get it back? So, but we'll need something for her later on. But that's why the 3, and then Sherry Coleman, she takes call, but she only takes call, and lately she's been sick, but she only takes call on Wednesdays. So I talked to her about it. I said that we just couldn't justify getting her a pager if she's not going to take more call than that. And so she just would have her radio, so she understood. So.
But you said you could get one later, but then you wouldn't have the special price at that
No,
time.
you wouldn't. No.
Okay. I see.
Like I said before, all the pagers we had, we came up with our own funding. The county didn't do that for us before. And I know they did to improve the service, so we're not faulting anybody, just it would be nice to have that, so that some pretty sound reasons, like when you're in church and stuff, because I've been paged a lot of times in church, and I was able to get up and walk out when I had the other pager and replay it and not disrupt everybody. So.
Have you talked to some of the other volunteers in the other areas about this at all, or is this just something on?
No, I have not.
I
I didn't want to open up a can of worms. I just thought that it would be, you know, if we're willing to pay for them, and the other thing is, most of the other ones didn't have it. Tampa was one of the only ones. There might have been a few from Durham, but most everybody did not have pagers in the county.
Oh, even in the 400 system?
Yes, and that's because we came up with our own funding on it. So, yeah, no, they didn't do that.
Everybody had them.
Huh?
We had them down there.
Did you?
Yeah. When it was on the old system.
So at 606, you're looking at about $303
Per unit.
times 3, so you're looking at $909 or something to
Mhm.
take care of what you're asking for. Give or take $1 there. Okay.
This would all have to come out of the EMS budget, I'm presuming.
Don't have to, but
Well,
That's-
I mean,
yeah.
that's where it should come from.
That being the case, I might have should have included Bob, but I didn't because I didn't know it was going to come out of the budget. So, I mean, I'm not trying to work around him at all.
No, I'm just wondering, you know, and this is not a big deal, but it could get bigger.
I think the only difference that I see nowadays is different than what it was before is the two full-time services. They're gonna have the radios no matter what. They're not gonna be sitting in church. They're not gonna be sitting there. They're gonna have theirs. So I think you could eliminate that, but yet there's volunteers on, like I know, let's say Dick Carr in Hillsborough, that's volunteer that, you know, so I don't know if, I wouldn't wanna just cross them out, but then you got other volunteer services, Peabody, Florence, and I'm thinking 3, you know, I'm just thinking of there's usually 3 people or 4 people that takes the most calls in each one of these towns.
Right.
And nothing different than what you are, Jesse, and so I'm trying to think of how I can, if this is the way the commission wants to go, that how we can do this for the service. So that's my only thinking, Jesse, is that.
Does it say?
I'm just thinking too, though, that we're willing to, you know, cost share on our half of it too. I don't know if everybody else is.
Well, it would have to be the same for everybody then.
Right, I know, but I said I don't know if anybody else would do that. But you never know.
So I guess we would have to know if it has to come out of EMS or where our other options are too.
And then how many do you want to pick up? I mean.
Well, I'm just trying to think outside the box, how many more requests are gonna have, cause,
Yeah.
you know, conceivably there will be,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't have a feel for what that number would be.
It'd be interesting to know the different people, like Dakar, whoever, if they had pagers before, if they just worked with radios, you know. Because I think a lot of the volunteers did not have pagers. You said Peabody did, but I don't think most of them did.
I personally don't have a problem doing it. I think the cost is good that they're willing to share. I'd just like to see where we can get the money from, or where we should get the money from.
Well, and I think the EMS budget is pretty solid right now, but,
The end of the year would be a place to see whether you might be able to do it out of there before the end of the year, maybe, see where you're set for the end of the year. It's possible, but let's say 3 more services, let's say 4 services come up with 3 times 12. I mean, 3 per unit or 4 per unit, whatever you're looking at, 4 times 4, 16 units, it's times 3. What is that?
Well, that would be somewhere in the
About
neighborhood of
3600.
about 16 times 32, be 40.
About $5,000.
Yeah, about $4,600,
Mhm.
give or take,
Yeah, so
and that's.
if that's what, you know, if you want to put some money aside for that, if somebody can match them. Tampa has a fund though that's not back in the county, correct?
There is a fund, but it's not managed by the county.
Yeah.
And it's in a legal way of having it.
Yeah, because everybody else's funds are under the county.
So you're referring to the crew funds that the other
Yeah,
people
yeah,
have?
yeah.
Yeah.
Tampa's the only place that doesn't have their money in with the county.
If you ordered these, how long do you have to wait on them?
I'm not real sure, but I would assume, I know you shouldn't assume anything, but I would think they'd be within a couple of weeks.
Oh, it's not something like 90 days out or something.
No, I don't think so. I could get back with any one of you on that if you.
Well, I just, you know, I don't question you needing them, I'm just wondering where's the money coming, how many will we end up buying? That would be, but, you know, I don't know that we're gonna know that until we've done it for you guys.
Well, I guess the thing to do would be, wouldn't it be like to get a hold of Bob Church and just have him put out how many people would be interested in it at this deal or not? I mean, on the volunteer
Or
side.
how many of them actually had pagers before,
Yeah,
you know, if
I
they,
mean,
We've already heard, Jesse, no matter whether you have or haven't had before, we've already heard of the issue that you're bringing up.
okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, everybody has that issue, that what you're talking about, of having the radios on them and having noise when they're in a church or
Yeah.
whatever they are. I mean, that's the main issue that you're bringing up. And everybody has discussed that after we got the new radios, that was something new to everybody. Of a nighttime, sleeping, we've heard that issue.
Well, that's been resolved, thankfully.
The nighttime issue, does that work pretty good?
Excellent.
To where you don't hear everybody else?
Exactly.
Okay, well.
One push of a button and it goes on a night page, and then the only page that comes out is Tampa ambulance only.
Cool. Well, I'm
so
glad to hear
that's when
that.
they come and reprogram that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens then if you push that page during the day at church?
You go in a church and you put it on the night page, but it's gonna blare.
It's still gonna,
Yeah, it's
still
very
gonna make
audible.
some noise. That's what ours did before too, no matter where you was at.
Yeah.
I mean, it just give you a sound and then a tone that told you what was going on. Is that what it does too? After it blares, that the tone comes out and tells you what's happening?
Well, the tone comes out first, and then you get the page.
And, yeah, but then it tells you what's after the tone and page.
But once we get the page, we don't have a way to recall it on the radio, so then we have to call dispatch a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesse, I wonder, would it be okay to, or would you be willing to see if you could get with Bob or somebody and maybe get a feel for how many would be
Sure.
interested in it, just so we could budget
Mhm.
and see where we can get the money
Mm-hmm.
and how many would be interested? Get a feel for it, and then we could know a little better.
Why don't we just contact Bob and say, this is what we're looking
Right,
at?
we can do that too, that's
Yeah.
fine. Mhm. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, here's Jesse, a crew member, going in and telling the boss, and I'm just saying that
Well,
it's best that we
he's-
tell him.
he was just gonna ask a question, I think.
Have you talked to Bob any about this?
No, I haven't, not about the pages, I haven't, because I didn't know it was gonna come out of his budget or whatever, and so.
Mhm.
As I said earlier, I wasn't trying to,
Right.
work around
Right.
him, I didn't know that I needed to, so.
Mhm. Okay, well then we'll contact Bob,
All right.
see how many there are.
And have him bring it back to us next week. Or, yeah, next week.
Yeah, he'll be on the agenda, I think, next week. Yes. Would that be okay? Just
Sure.
let you know by next
Sure.
week?
Slow you down by a week or two anyway.
Yeah.
And during that time, I can find out too, what we could expect for a delivery date from them, how long it would take.
And is there a date that you have to have this order called in to get this price? Is it the end of the year?
It has to be done by the end of the year.
Okay. Okay.
And normally it's, I said it's $100 higher. This price here is a very identical price to the G4, the 400 only,
Okay,
so.
okay. Well, that sounds good to me.
Be adequate time to find out.
I give you one other deal here, and I'll only take a couple minutes. I did talk to Bob about this one. The ambulance, when we inherited from the Marion First Out, when they got their new one, it had been damaged on the right rear fender area, and I did take some pictures of it. And I took it upon I talked to Bob about it and told him I'd like to get an estimate. But if you take the picture and scroll it this way, there's body damage on it to where it's actually flaking off. And there's one side of the fender, it's got a big crack in it, and the other side is cracked, but it's actually the body area of the surface of it is actually a great big piece of, or a great big, but a piece of it's coming out. And then the fender's been damaged, and that was done, from what I understand, Mr. DeBesis knew about it. I think he might have, I don't know if he brought it to your attention or not, but I did get an estimate from, only one estimate, and that was from right across from what Doug Wright's at. The other one in Hillsborough is no longer a body shop, I guess. So, and it came in at just under $600 to get everything replaced and repaired on it.
Needs to be done. By the way that looks like to me, that needs to be done.
I mean, I don't think you can do every, door ding or any of that kind of stuff, but when you got the body coming off of it, the surface coming off of it, I think
Is that fiberglass?
I don't know what it is. I really don't. It could be, I don't know.
I don't know down there whether it's a fiberglass part of it
That's all I have.
or not. That probably fall under our insurance, probably.
They call it sheet metal on the estimate, it says
Really?
sheet metal.
Yeah, but I don't know if he.
I mean, that may just be a generic word.
Yeah, you can, and once he gets into it, he might find something different as well.
And they might be putting that sheet metal on there and then gonna be bondoing and stuff to get it blended in, I don't know. But,
We're pretty proud of the fact that we've always taken pretty good care of our ambulance and had a lot of pride in it.
Yeah.
And this kind of,
Didn't this just happen not too long, probably 6 months ago or so?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it did.
So,
Didn't get fixed.
so do we need to turn it over to our insurance? I mean, it's too late, or, I mean, we
I
can
don't
sure
know, I would
try.
assume that it would
We'll
probably.
have to try it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, whether anything was even filed on it, because it might not, I mean, there may not be anything to collect because of the deductible, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it was ever turned in.
Yeah. But for $600, we need to get it fixed.
Mm-hmm, agreed.
They just got a new windshield in it, and we just got a new mirror in it. They were broken the mirror was broken at a different time than what I was told. But
So is that Bob's responsibility to turn that in? I guess. Huh?
I don't know. It was done.
Does he know about it?
Yes. I talked to him about it. I'll be very honest with you. He said if we did every ding, I don't know how much he looked at it, but if we did every ding, we'd be doing this all the time. So I said, so are you okay with me presenting it to the commissioners? If he wouldn't have been okay, I wouldn't have done it. And he said, well, I guess. So,
Well, you might communicate with him and ask if it's been, a claim was ever turned in.
And if not, we need to go ahead and do it.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you,
Is
guys.
that it, Jeff?
That's it.
All right.
Sorry I kept putting you off, but this morning I got called into work last night at midnight. I had to work all night and had the other guy, he just wanted me to stay till 12. I said, I'm not putting you guys off again.
Yep, no, this is just fine, thank you very much.
Did you want that estimate? Replacement pages and then the.
Is Mr. Bruce
pull-out
Schultz here?
papers, They have that.
Phone.
Oh, Jesse, your
here.
phone.
Yeah, I created it, but didn't have help like that. Thank you.
You don't want that, okay,
I
thank
want a
you.
copy of
Thank
that
you, guys.
after the meeting. You don't want it?
No, go ahead and make your copies. That's fine.
Did you get copies? Yes.
Did you say Bruce was here?
I saw the packets out there, so I'll see if he's in here.
Okay.
Got copies.
Sir?
Is this the appropriate time to ask a general question?
Not really, but you
Huh?
can. No, but you can if you want to, but it's really not. But go ahead.
I've heard a question come up occasionally among the people around Marion regarding the population of the proposed Hillsborough district. Does that include or does it not include the student population of Tabor College?
I don't know. I never checked it out, so I don't have the answer to that.
I don't think it would include the student population.
I
Because
only,
those aren't residents of Marion County.
I understand that.
Yeah.
That's what the question is
Right.
amongst us, is whether they're being counted for one purpose when they're not permanent residents.
I only know that the
They would be.
numbers that I used came from the 2018 Certified State Census Report,
Yeah, those students.
July of 2018. That's the number that they had. I did not investigate what all it included.
Hey, Bruce.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll have to do that. Bruce, have a seat.
I'm up, okay, yeah. I was harassing the help over here. Hi,
Morning, Bruce.
how are you guys?
Good.
Nice to see you.
Yep.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Bruce.
Hi, stranger. What's going on here, crew?
Bruce, can you sit over there?
Oh, there, okay.
That way everybody can hear
sorry.
you rather than have
Yes.
your back to people.
I'm sorry, yeah. So, you need to turn the heater up just a little bit for me? Wow, it was 11 and touch when I left.
What?
It's like, wow. So, what's going on up here in the city lights? Anything exciting?
I'll pass them down.
Okay. I think there's 4 or 5. I think Kathy actually made an extra for the press. Okay, yes ma'am. So, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning. Nice to be in Marion this morning, you know, so I'm just out kind of making my round and tour of the area. And tell you, my main objective this morning is to just to give the county a little bit of an update on what's transpired with your medical plan year to date. And I'm not here to, to point fingers or push numbers or tell you anything bad. My objective was just to say, hey, here's how your plan's performing. I kind of call this a mid-year review because we've been through a couple of pretty tough renewal cycles, and we came out of some pretty significant time frames and pretty significant claims that we were hit with. And so what I did is I went out to our system. We have a system that has the ability to generate utilization information, and all the data that I'm going to discuss with you this morning is HIPAA compliant. You guys, the county here, is looked at as being a fully insured account, and all the data that you will see today is aggregate data. There's nothing that specifically goes in and says, Bruce Schultz is the guy that had 2 hip operations, and he's the one that ran up all the claims, and so that's not why I'm here. I'm here to just give you a high-level interpretation of what I see transpiring with the county's program, how the county's plan's performing, and just to kind of let you know where you're at year to date. Now, when I say that, the information that we're going to look at this morning is only for a 9-month time period. So when we rate the county, we're looking at a rolling 12 months of experience. So we look at income that the county pays us, we compare that to claims data. So what I'm just simply doing is I'm looking at a very early look at how we're performing, and that's kind of my objective, if that makes sense to you. So I think when a group's fully insured, like the county is, you really have no perspective of what's happening with your plan other than maybe hearsay. I mean, I might say, well, Bruce was off work. He's been off work for a couple weeks and had a hip replacement or whatever. And so in essence, all that information has to be protected, and that's really my objective this morning. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I'm not going to detail out and say, this is a problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to look at I'm looking at a 3-year perspective. So I went back the 2 prior years and I looked at information, and then I'm looking at the current time frame that we're in operating today, and just to kind of give you guys some perspective of how the county's plan's performing. So does that make some logic? And so when I talked to Tina, I told Tina, I said, really, I said, with everything the county's kind of been through on the medical plan, my objective is to just do a mid-year review and just give you an update. So
I'm glad to see you here because, I don't know that you've done this before.
well, you know what?
Only once or twice, maybe.
Typically not, and so I've kind of told persons in my office, I think it's important that we start doing mid-year reviews because of the sheer dollars that we're working with. And I've tried to start implementing on all my large accounts, doing a mid-year review like this, because Randy, you're right. It's there's a lot of money on the line, and we want to make sure that you guys are kept in the know as much as possible. And any of this data that you see today, if you said, hey Bruce, I'd like to look at that in another month, I just go out to our system. One of my support persons will then put it in the system, and our system will extrapolate the data and supply it to me. So I would like to kind of get into a routine that every, in a perfect world, sometimes I think, well, it would have been better if we would have cut it off at 6 months. In your case, I looked at 9 months of data. So there's really a lot of unknowns because we really don't know what's going to happen in October, November, December. And so I'm not too sure that you can draw tons of conclusions from this, but I think it will put us all a little bit at ease saying, hey, this is what's transpired for the county and this is kind of where we're at. So yeah, that's kind of my main objective. And so in that folder and kind of in that packet of information and in this utilization analysis, if you open it up, maybe really kind of the first section, and you'll kind of see where I've really kind of just made some narrative notes for you at really kind of a high level and some observations. And this data again is to the concept that I look at and what I try to explain to companies is that we're trying to spot it's trend analysis. I'm not an actuary. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a physician. But what we do is we try to spot trends and we try to spot concern areas that we should make our clients aware of how your plan's performing. And it's very early to draw conclusions because the county's rates will be based on what happened in the calendar year of 2018. We then pull the data at the end of the year. We then calculate the information, and by the middle part of February, I should know what your numbers are for next year. So as long as you understand that. So the first page that's in there, and I'm just kind of randomly pick out some of the high points because I could really burn a lot of your time this morning, and I really don't intend to do that because it might put you to sleep. But there are some areas here where I want to just highlight and say, here's an area where it got my attention, okay? So the first page that's in that packet of information is I wrote age, and I find it interesting, and I put a little note that Marion County's average composite age here is 40, and Blue Cross's book of business is 35. So the fact of the matter is that we're a little bit older group than what you would see statistically speaking across the state of Kansas. Well, I don't know, the Blue Cross guy is getting pretty old, and so I get that. And that's not unique to Marion County. I see that fairly common with a lot of cities, counties, and school districts that I work with. And so I do want to point that out, number one. And then directly below there, and kind of where you see my chicken scratches, it talks about how we're comparing, and we're looking at, and you'll see up the top I write current, we're looking at the current 9 months, prior 9 months, and then the past prior 9 months. So I start everything January of each year, and I looked at what that data was. Those data points would be through the end of September, so that's the 9 months that I'm referring to. And to make a fair like comparison, my thought was, let's look at the current time frame and then the prior 2 years. And you can kind of see it breaks it down by line of businesses. It looks at inpatient, outpatient, emergency room, professional. It talks about pharmacy and dental. And then it does give a comparison of what's happened in those years and how we're operating today, and it compares it to Blue Cross's book of business. So when you see the word BOB, that's Blue Cross's book, and that's kind of how our plans, all of our groups are operating across Kansas. And inpatient we're 6% lower, outpatient we're lower compared to Blue Cross's book of business. The emergency room utilization is lower than Blue Cross's book. So a lot of those trends look favorable. And on the professional side, which is the physician side, we're up a little higher than the average. So you can see our average paid for a physician visits $83 or $82. The Blue Cross's book is $73. So we're 11% higher than Blue Cross's book. Our pharmacy trends are a little bit alarming in that our pharmacy costs are significantly higher than Blue Cross's book of business, and I'll show you some other data on that will kind of maybe pull that together as well. So so the first page is pretty straightforward. If you flip into the next page, what the next page does is that, this is the cost sharing page, and I quickly go to clear to the right, and I want to look at what the planned paid amounts are, and you'll kind of see that I've noted in there 16, 17, and 18, and what I was, I guess I was pulling for and hoping for when I looked at this data, that we would see a significant reduction because we've came out of some fairly significant dollars. And what I'm finding is that our experience is not getting less. So you can see in 16, we had $651,000, which is both health and pharmacy claims. And 17, 616, and year to date we're at 684. So we're actually trending higher than what we've had in the past 2 years. Now, to offset that is that we've changed our plan deductible, or we tweaked our co-insurance, plus the rates have went up. So the net result is that we've made some adjustments in premiums that will offset that and make that look a little bit better, and there'll be another report that I will show you. But my objective was to kind of hope to come in here and say, wow, we may have a really, really good renewal next year. Well, it's too early for me to draw any conclusions, but what's concerning to me is, as I went back in the 2013 time frame, our year-to-date claims in 2013 were $440,000. In 2014, they were $543,000. The following year was $649,000. We almost went to $1 million. Last year was $871,000, and it appears that we're on the tune of pushing. You could be up another $1 million a year in claims, and that's why you buy it. I mean, I don't want to, but there was this thought in the back of my mind saying that I only would hope that maybe we've turned the corner, and I think when we talked several times, I think we had I had said many times that healthcare can be rather cyclical, and you can have 2 or 3 really good years followed by 2 or 3 really bad years, and so but I'm not terribly worried about that so far, because your premiums have went up significantly over the past couple of years, and I'll get to that here in a second. So, but I gravitate to the right. It tells me a little bit about what was billed and what Blue Cross allowed, and what the members paid, and you can kind of see that we've tweaked deductibles and co-insurances, so our employees have also paid more money out of their pocket because we stretched the co-insurance levels out. We increased the office visit copay, and so what we're asking our employees is to pay a little bit more out of their pocket, and it would tell you that there's been $20,000 more paid out of our employees' pockets to offset some of the costs. Okay, make sense?
Even though it may show us going up a little bit, from 16 to now, what would Blue Cross's expectations? We're not getting cheaper than anything. Everybody's getting a raise in pay, and doctors and them seem to get more. So, shouldn't there be an increase in as we go through, though?
Well, yeah, and our projections are that hospital costs are going up about. I think the projections we're using in January of 2019. I think hospital trends are in the 3 to 4% trend. Doctor trends are in about the 3 to 5 trend percent increases. Drug trends are, and don't hold me to, I think it's like somewhere between 9 and 11% on the RX side. So yeah, you're right, Randy. What statistically happens is that what we as a company do is we take historical data, we build in cost factors, then we try to project what those costs are going to do looking into the future. And those trends are what drives what all of us pay. That's a great observation. So yeah, we are seeing now those trends have been compressing over time. They've actually been coming down, with the exception of the RX trend, because drug costs continue to escalate very rapidly, as we all know. I mean, it's a ever increasing field in healthcare. Okay. The next page, really just a cost share, talks about the dollars. I'm going to have you pass on that one. If you go to the following page, what ends up happening then is we look at, and this one is I write inpatient. I think you'll see an inpatient. I write a little arrow upward on the top right there, and you'll see that these are just for inpatient claims, and you'll notice that comparing the past 2 years to the current time frame, we went from 59 to 118 to 120. So inpatient facility charges are up. We'll flip to the next page. The next page looks at outpatient facility charges. And the trend kind of nationally is that people do a lot of stuff on an outpatient basis, obviously. Wow, my wife's had her knee operated on next Monday, and she'll be scoped in the morning and released in the afternoon. I mean, there's a lot of outpatient procedures being done, and this is very reflective of that. I don't get too alarmed about that. I mean, even though you see the trend, jumped a little bit from 2016, 2017, and 2018, and you kind of look at what's happening with outpatient claims. The next section is what's happening on the physician side and the professional claims, and those professional claims seem to be rather consistent, which simply tells us that people do go to the doctor, and I think that's critical that people do that. I think the system that we have today in America, I simply tell people that you have to be proactive in healthcare. I don't think people need to be more in tune with things and be less reactionary. So I try to convince people that if something doesn't look right, something doesn't seem right, go to your doctor. Let's get things taken care of early. I think there's something to proactive medicine. That would tell me that people do use the physician, they go to the doctors, and that's I think a very critical component in today's world. The next section is a claims stratification report that just tries to identify where our dollars are coming from, whether it's employee spouses or dependents, and you can kind of see those dollar ranges that a lot of our dollars are coming in the $10,000 to $50,000 range, and that's fairly commonplace. Knee surgeries and shoulder surgeries and elbow surgeries, it doesn't take much to have a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 claim. I tell the story that 2 years ago I had both of my hips done. Total bill was $120,000. Blue Cross's negotiated price ended up being about $20,000 a piece, so $40,000. So the doctors and hospitals in Wichita wrote off over $80,000 on my 2 hip replacements that I had done in 1 year. So, but it does give you some perspective of where the dollars are coming from, and we're really not up against anything really big. We just have a lot of people that have some minor claims. I mean, in the $10,000 to basically $50,000 range, and you can kind of see that it's coming from employees, some spouses, and then even some dependents are having some claims dollars out there that's driving our cost to some degree. Okay. If you flip then to the next page shows what's happened in prior time frames. And again, those same statistical type data that holds fairly true in that, again, those mid-range claims, 10 to 50,000, seem pretty common in the 17 time frame. And if you go back to the 16 time frame and the past prior time frame, we had a fairly significant claimant in that time frame. And the middle tiers were pretty similar. The 1,000 to 50,000 were pretty commonplace. Okay, so again, not that you can draw any conclusions, but I do like to kind of see where our claims are coming from, whether it's our staff, spouses, kids, but it does give us some perspective of what's happened there. If you flip then to the next page then goes into a little more detail on what's happening with emergency room costs. And I kind of tell people out there that it's, and I think the county's done a really good job with this, that I believe very strongly in that we have to do whatever we can to make sure that we seek services from your primary care doctors. And the use of the emergency room can be rather costly if you go to the ER a lot. And I would simply tell you here that your ER utilization does not look significant this year. Although I do find it interesting that it shows the current time frame that we're in. The next page, we had some pretty significant ER utilization. So the prior period, the last year in the 2017 time frame, we had plan paid to 25,000. This year we're at 7,600, and 2 years ago we were 11,447. So I'm trying to convince companies out there is that we have to do whatever we can to encourage people that if you do not have a true emergency, try to seek services from your medical doctor. Try to avoid ER utilization if it's not a true emergency. The problem that happens is that if you're in Hutch and live in Hutch like I do, the Hutch Clinic has some extended hours, which is kind of nice for people on nights and weekends. Dillon's has the little clinic that gives you access to care after hours. But when you get in some rural communities, you get a sick kid at 2 o'clock in the morning, what do? And that's a pretty tough thing for families to deal with. I know last year we rolled out our telemedicine product that gives employees the ability to access a doctor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But it does give you some perspective of what employees are using the emergency room for. And your contract does have, and I was going to look at that here, your contract does have I believe there is an emergency room copay, and I should know that off the top of my head. I think it's 100 or two. It's kind of a ding to try to keep away from going to the ER. I don't know that off the top of my head. I should know that. Let me look at one other page here. So the idea that we've taken is when you go to the emergency room, the concept is to try to go there if it's a true emergency, if that makes sense. I was going to say ER, $100 copay. So there's kind of a disincentive to go to the ER. It's a $100 copay and then pay deductibles and coinsurance. If you're admitted to the hospital, we waive then that $100 copay. That's your current contract. Okay. A lot of companies are pushing those to $200 and $300 and $400 and $500. I'm not too crazy about that for rural America. I mean, I grew up in northwest Kansas, in a little town out by Colby, and when you're 30 miles away from a doctor, a little different deal than living in Hutch or Wichita. Yeah, so I respect that. So yeah, the next page, the next section talks about high cost members. So we identify kind of where we're at in Marion County with high cost members, and again, we're not seeing significant dollars on. We've identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 individuals. Several of those individuals have left employment. No longer attached with the county, but then we also look at what their claims have been over the past couple of years to see if the first case number had no prior experience. This year had a fairly significant claim, and sometimes you see chronic problems continuing year after year after year, and that I wouldn't say is the case with these individuals. Okay. And when I look at them, nothing is significant. I mean, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 claims are fairly commonplace in today's world. Yeah. The next page and the next section deals with what's happening under the Affordable Care Act. So, if you remember right, a couple of years ago, when we gave up our grandfathered status by contract and by federal law, you have to add what's referred to as ACA preventative. So under all of the policies that we have here at the county, all those policies have preventative services paid at 100%. So I describe it as colonoscopies and pap smears and mammograms. There's certain criteria that must be met. I quite truthfully think it's a wonderful benefit because I think there's a lot to be said about preventative services. And I would simply tell you that the employees here have endorsed that concept year to date. You'll see total plan paid for those preventative services that we at Blue Cross pay at 100% are $25,000. So our employees are getting stuff done. They're being proactive. They are having the mammograms done. They're doing the cholesterol screens, the colorectal cancer screens, the immunizations, the checkups. And that's conceptually what the federal government wanted you to do under your plan, is to have those preventative services. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a very, very good thing for Marion County. The next page talks about chronic conditions. And what we do is we identify high significant chronic conditions that can create significant dollars. And you kind of see where those dollars are coming from. Down the bottom, there's musculoskeletal type problems are the number one problem. I mean, the fact is that as we all get older, our hips and knees and people have joint problems. And, you know, I'm the poster child for that. Because let me tell you, I have great relationships with orthopedic surgeons anymore. So, because my body's kind of worn out. So, but I also want to point out that on this chart, it also shows that Blue Cross has what's called disease management solutions. So if we have an employee that has a cardiovascular problem, anybody with congestive heart failure, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, or hypertension, respiratory type problems, you can actually get involved with one of our nurse case managers and they can help you navigate your problem. So, you know, the Blue Cross guy is, you know, in addition to bad joints, I now have a little issue with high blood pressure. So I did this. I got involved. I have a nurse. I signed up for our case management program for my high blood pressure, and once a month I get a phone call from a nurse in Topeka. Doesn't cost me anything. Your employees can do the same thing. And typically I do it in the afternoons because my mornings are pretty hectic. So I typically get a call from her about 3:30 in the afternoon when I'm leaving some town. And I sit at the quick shop, and her and I sit there and talk about an hour, and she says, "Bruce, what are you doing?" And she wants to make sure I'm paying attention to my diet, am I exercising? And I tell people, man, I almost feel like I get scolded from this gal, but I've really grown to like it. And it makes me think twice about what I'm doing and if I'm exercising, because I know in a month that my nurse is going to be calling me. And I want you to know, I want the county to know that those programs are available to our employees here for no cost. And we have a very aggressive case care management type programs, and they're available for our employees if they're interested in participating in those. I told people I better make sure that I understand this, because if I'm promoting it, and I've done it. I'm doing it now. I'm in the throes of that right now with this nurse, and she scolds me. I personally, you know, in my deal, what I found out that I've done is that I have this horrible problem of wanting sweets, and so a lot of times after I eat, I'll go, and when I leave some town, I mean, when I leave here today or Hillsborough this afternoon, I'll stop by the quick shop, and I typically grab a pop and a candy bar. And what she's saying is, Bruce, you've got to make better choices. You can go in these quick shops and they have apples, they have healthier snacks that you can pick from, but stay away from all that junk. Grab a bottle of water. And she kind of scolds me. And so, Randy, it's been kind of a good experience for me. And I'm trying to do better at it. My blood pressure is doing better. And my objective is to get off the medicine. And I didn't think I'd ever have high blood pressure, but I do. And
what does your company think about mental health? That's becoming a big issue.
it's a huge item.
And it's growing.
As a matter of fact, mental health, under federal law, your plan is compliant with what's called mental health parity. So conceptually, the way that works is that you have to treat mental illness no different than you do any other illness, is in essence what I say. And you're right, it's real for people. And so I would tell you that contractually, you have an extensive benefits for mental problems, mental health, drug, alcohol, whatever those issues might be for an employee, and it's technically required by federal law. So all plans must be compliant under what's called mental health parity, because there's parity with mental health issues, and I compliment that question because a lot of people don't understand that. But yes, it's real. I deal with way too many people that it's real.
And just by the definition of mental health anymore, which has expanded way out there, I could see where the cost would ultimately start to soar a little bit. I know.
Well, and we're using some. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we have. Yeah,
I mean,
and that's quite an all-encompassing heading when you think about mental illness. I mean, it could be, one of the things that I'm actually promoting and that I sold to all the school systems here is what's referred to as an employee assistance program, or what's known as an EAP. And I don't know if you guys have an EAP here.
Yeah, we do.
But Blue Cross has one that we sell through a company called New Directions. I just sold all the ESDAC School Consortium, which is Hillsborough and Marion and McPherson and 44 school systems, that an EAP. And I think there's huge value in an EAP. And if they don't provide mental health help with that, we need to talk, because I'd like to share with you what our plan does, because New Directions has it can truly help people navigate problems. And I always tell people out there is that for any reason that you have an issue, I don't care whether it's your kid in high school has a problem, or you don't get along having a problem with your home life. That's the concept of where an EAP can really work for you, and we need to make sure that we promote that fairly heavily. And I think about our employee meetings. I mean, the next time that I do that, if you give me a little piece on that of what whoever you have as your EAP provider, I would definitely make sure I talk to your staff about that, because there's huge value in EAPs. And a lot of those EAPs are designed around helping they provide those services at no cost. In our world, there's coverage, but it's subject to deductibles and copay. So I always tell people, use your EAP until you exhaust the visit limit. Once that's exhausted, then you can drop under the medical plan. Great thought. Great thought. Okay. Top 25 diagnosis. I'm not really going to go down the road there too far. But if you go back to the one concern area that I have would be the page where it says the top 25 pharmacy. And I had a little note on that. I mean, the prescription costs continue to be fairly significant, and what was really stuck out to me significantly here is that our top 25 most high cost meds, 17 of the 25 are for diabetic therapy. So if you said to me today, Bruce, what should we do about that? I mean, like from a wellness perspective, could you get involved someone, at the community health center, the county health people? This could be a real focus area on wellness, and that seemed pretty significant dollars out there. Now, some of those, I mean, you obviously see some of those that are advertised on TV significantly, but that piqued my interest a little bit right there. That seemed like a fairly high number of the top 25. But now, interestingly enough, clear row on the left side where it talks about specialty drug indicator, one of the things that we've talked about over the years is that there's a whole new class of meds that have come on the market that are called specialty medications. None of those drugs hit that category of being a specialty medication. Specialty meds are typically significant dollars. I mean, I'm seeing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month meds in that world routinely. It's crazy.
For one family?
Oh, I just walked out of Newton meeting with a kid that has a problem. He walked up to me and he says, Bruce, thank you so much. I said, what's going on? He goes, I take a prescription that's $14,000 a month and it's saving my life. I did a meeting the other night in Sterling at the co-op. Young kid walked up to me, same deal. He said, Bruce, you don't know how much I appreciate this. I said, what you got going on? Same deal. $20,000 a month was his med. And then I just met with a big group in Hutch the other day. The largest drug, one individual last year was $543,000. So I can tell you that when I see this, nothing looks significant as far as dollars because they typically are fairly reasonably priced. What I am a little concerned about is the level of meds in one drug therapeutic class is the red flag. Okay? So just interesting to note that. Okay? Although the next page, and I see a good trend here, is if you look at the trend analysis, one of the things that we've continued to talk to the employees about, one of the things that I talk to them about annually when we have our meetings, is I talk to them about the importance of making sure that you're moving towards generics because the co-pays on generics are significantly lower. Well, our employees endorse that. 85% of the prescriptions that are dispensed here at the county are generics. And there are significant dollar savings with that. And I think your employees get it. I get that. I take my high blood pressure pills, the Cinepril that's been out for 85 years, and I told my doctor, I said, I want the cheap stuff. I don't need the latest, greatest high blood pressure medicine. I want something that's been proven for 100 years or whatever it is. And he said, I'll give you he goes, you're okay with taking the cheap one? I said, saves me money, saves Blue Cross money, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but some of the doctors are reluctant to do that.
Right.
Very reluctant, because they say, well, I know what you're taking is expensive, but it works for you.
It's better for me.
So
I know they were pretty particular with me after my surgeries when they put me on blood thinner. They only wanted, my surgeon only wanted me on Coumadin, which is a name brand for blood thinner, but it's been around a long time. He was very, very firm with me that he didn't want me on any other thinner than that one.
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes your physician dictates
Yeah,
that.
and I follow I'm pretty loyal to them when that happens, as we all should be. And your contract that you have with us, you have a 15, 30, 45 drug card, so the worst that an employee could spend out of their pocket would be $45, even if it was a $10,000 a month med.
Mm-hmm.
So the county your plan is designed to really protect our employees against those significant dollar claims out there. And although I see the trend analysis is going up, the member pay, if you look at what's a little bit alarming to me is the plan paid up at the top of that report. In the past prior was $138, 2 years ago was $165, and for the first 9 months of the year, we're at $205. That is significant when I look at that. So if you were to say to me today, hey Bruce, where do you see a problem? I would say it's not unique to Marion County. Virtually every group that I call on has seen the same type of trend, but I would tell you that this prescription costs continue to escalate at an overwhelming pace. You guys, and through Blue Cross, if you look on everybody's ID card, there is a little logo on there that's called Prime Therapeutics. So we have what's known as a PBM, that's a pharmacy benefit manager. The PBM Prime goes out and negotiates drug costs and drug pricing in an effort to control those dollars. So we're using a huge PBM that oversees drug spend in Kansas. They're involved in 22 states in the union. They're one of the largest PBMs in the country. But they help us negotiate pricing. They make sure that we're using the most cost-effective meds. They're making sure that we got people that are not working the opioid situation. They're making sure that people are they have what's called an adherence program to make sure that people take their meds routinely, and we monitor all that behind the scenes for the county just to make sure that we're getting good results for the dollars that you're spending. It's good. It's a good approach, but those dollars are going up 11% trends. That's what's pushing the cost curve a little, Randy. So great question. Pharmacy utilization on the next page. I'm going to have you flip over that one, but the last page that I really wanted to kind of direct you to would be the loss ratio page. And what this does is this shows calculated premiums compared to what your total monthly costs are. And you see I circled down at the bottom that for the first 9 months of the year, we're cycling at a 92% loss ratio. Now, historically speaking, and I've kept records of all this, in 2013 for the year we were 61, 14 we were 56, 15 we were 89%, 16 we were 116, 17 we were 153, and in 2018 we were at 98.66. So even though we're seeing a little bit of spike in utilization, your premiums have been bumped up enough to where it's offsetting in that you're coming in with what I would kind of describe for the first 9 months of the year at a 92% loss ratio. Now, would I like to see us back at 61.7% like we were back in 2013? Very definitely. Do I think that's realistic this year? Absolutely not. But I guess my closing comment would be is that made me feel a little more optimistic for Marion County than what the front part of the report was telling me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, that's because the fact is that our rates have went up to offset that because we had kind of some spikes. We generate more money, it's offsetting the claims as a result. The company, I think Blue Cross did a great job in directing us to the dollars we need to protect our risk to keep costs in check for the county. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the rest of the report talks about providers that are used. It talks about top, pharmacists that are used. Shows the top 25 providers. The one that I like for Marion County would be shows. What I was interested in looking at was like the third page back, and shows that we really do support the local hospitals significantly here. It shows Marion County using St. Luke's Hospital. There's a lot of people go to Newton Medical Center, so the employees get it. They support the community, I think, significantly, and I think it's important that we keep that kind of in perspective. In the back, it gets into a little more provider information, and then it gets into some more demographics. And then it closes in this report. There's a demographic report that shows the age bands of where our dollars are coming from. And this is almost like 6 pages from the back, but I'm going to have to push you to that one a little bit. But again, it's those of us in that 50 to 64 category that are running up the dollars. So obviously, as we get older, we use healthcare, and that's no secret. I mean, we were all 20, we were all healthy, didn't have problems. When we get above age 50 is when things start happening for us. But on that report down at the bottom, it shows that stratification. It does show in the current time frame, about half of our costs come from the age bracket 50 to 64. So, and I know that's true for your Blue Cross guy. So, I didn't think I'd ever use my Blue Cross, Randy.
Yeah, right.
But boy, I've used it the last couple of years. And then the last pages deal with your dental program, and really nothing. Dental's a minor thing, but your employees do use it. Dental utilization continues to go up, and I think that's a good thing. I think good dental health is critical for having a good reflection of your medical plan. So I'm not going to get too far in the weeds with your dental program, other than to say that the plan paid numbers are up a little bit. Last year they were 60,000. This year they're 65,000. But that tells me that people are going to the dentist. They're getting things taken care of. I think that's a critical component in overall health care. So questions that you might have. That was 35 minutes. Thank you. Yes. Questions on any of that?
So after all this review that you did right here, where do you see us, just off the top of your head, I know you still have some months coming, but where would your gut feeling tell you that we're going into next year when we renew?
If you end up in the low 90 percentile, I would think that your renewal numbers will be single digits for next year. So you know, last year you were at 98% on the medical, the dental was 122, and I think overall is about 7 to 8%. My goal is that I hope we come in at about a 90% loss ratio. I hope we get a little bit under 90. If you come under 90, you'll see a very minimal rate change for 2019. It'll be May of 2019 is when your renewal cycles.
So if we go below 90, we're at 92 right now.
Yeah, and
If we go, then you're saying we will have
I
a
think-
minimal increase, is
I
that
think
what
you'll
you're
see.
saying?
I think you would see minimal rate changes. Now, I am a little concerned that your dental utilization is still pretty high, so the dental rates may go up a little bit, but that's not very many dollars. I mean, dental rates are 30 or 40 bucks. I mean, so I don't want to. I'm not too worried about that. The dollars are on the medical plan, but the concern that we're all kind of up against, and I talk about this even in my own life. Our plan at Blue Cross renews every January 1. Our deductibles cycle January through December. Your plan renews May 1. Everybody's deductible cycle May 1 to May 1. Your experience that we look at runs from January through December. So what typically happens is the closer that people get to the end of the year, claims have a tendency to go up. And your Blue Cross guy is a perfect example of that. Our daughter had shoulder surgery from volleyball, a senior in high school. My wife and I have not had any claims all year long, and her knee's been bothered. She goes to the orthopedic guy, buddy of mine in Hutch, and he says, "Well, you've got 2 torn meniscus," and I says, "Well, you need to get that done before the end of the year," because
Deductibles and so on.
that they're going to
Yeah.
reset January 1, and she goes, "What are you getting at, Bruce?" And I says, "Well," I said, we have a $500 deductible, and so I'm blessed to have a nice plan like what you guys have." And she finally got it. I says, "Well, the fact is that if you could have both of those knees scoped before the end of the year, it'll save us a couple $1,000. So I know I do that, and if I do that, people get pretty perceptive about how their plans cycle and when their deductibles reset. And so the offsetting side of that, Diane, is that my worry is that the closer we get to the end of the year, claims have a tendency to start spiking up because people meet their deductibles, they get into the co-insurance where Blue Cross is paying a significant part of the plan, and year-end numbers.
So in essence, at 9 months, we could be looking pretty good right now, but maybe not so much.
And that's my worry for you. Truly, it is. I feel there are certain areas that I feel good about for the county. There's a couple of concern areas that I think about for the county, and I know it's a significant line item for this county, and I very definitely respect that. And like I said earlier, coming in, my objective was just to kind of give you a high-level summary and kind of get in the routine of where I do a mid-year review so that you don't get blindsided, come after the first year and say, "Well, Bruce, we had no idea that was going on." And so I'm kind of starting to be a little bit more proactive and say, I think it's critical, and if you said, "Hey, Bruce, I kind of like this, maybe we ought to do this quarterly," I'd do that for you. It's that important to me, and it's obviously very important for the county. So, yes.
So what you're saying, Bruce, conceivably, if everything goes well, we're still looking at a rate increase 9% or less?
I would say probably less than, that would be my thought, because the medical inflationary trends are still pretty significant that you're fighting.
Because even a 9% is
It's a lot of-
substantial.
Significant, yes,
That's if things go well.
yes. So we're, like I said, I'm probably a little premature to even, but again, my objective was just to say, hey, here's where we're at a quick snapshot 9 months into it, how we're statistically compared against the other 2 years, and that was kind of my goal today. So yeah,
Appreciate you doing that, though.
yes. So
It's nice to have
questions, Ashley, anything from you? Well, thank you guys very much for your
Thanks,
time,
Bruce.
and I appreciate it very
I
much.
just second your opinion that after 60, you go to heck.
Speak for yourself.
I was just
Must be a man thing.
I was like, man,
Only got 5 more days.
It's just one of those things.
At 60, just.
Your health just.
Well, I told my father-in-law that the other day. He's 70, and I said, Dwayne, I said, he's retired. Him and my father-in-law, mother-in-law are both retired. And I said, Dwayne, do you know anybody that's 80 that gets around really well? And he looked at me kind of funny, and he says, well, not a lot of guys. And he says, what are you getting at? I said, that's my point. I said, you've got about 10 years, because from 70 to 80, you better, if something you want to do, let's go do it. Because at 80, if you're blessed to be healthy, that's a wonderful thing, but I don't know many 80-year-old people that can really do much. And I think I got him thinking a little bit, saying, so they took a trip, and
The percentage is.
Don't tell half the farmers in Kansas.
yeah, they keep going. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I have some uncles of mine that are 80s, man, they're out from the combine, it's like, they're not gonna get off that thing, so, but, thank you guys very much. It's always a pleasure to be here. We
Thank you.
very much appreciate the relationship and working with you, and call me on anything if you have questions. And so, perfect. Good.
All right.
Good.
Have a good day.
Yes, you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you very much. So, and turn the heat back up for me. It's like,
Working on it.
I think I can handle the heat a lot better.
Yeah.
Diane, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay,
Bruce.
See you guys. Appreciate it very much. Actually, thank you. Okay.
Okay then, moving on, next on the agenda is Janice Davis. Come on up. You can have that seat if you have a seat.
Okay, first of all, I've already had road guys out, but I want to show you guys some pictures of what this looked like before they touched anything. Because I took it, when we first moved out there, this is what it
Moved
looked
out
like.
where?
We live at 2193 Pawnee.
Right next to the road, the man, what's his name, had the storage shed.
Yeah, Whiteman's.
Okay.
Whiteman's had a storage shed.
This is my
so-
yard before they touched anything.
So the damage that she's gonna show us then ultimately will be an after fact after they did that road.
Because now what they went in and done, every direction drains into my yard. Okay, we haven't had a really great rain yet.
Okay, so this is before, right?
This is all before they touched anything. This is how well their drainage was. This is
Okay.
the year we moved up here, which was in 2016.
Well, this one don't look too good, Janice. It's all full of water.
We know
Is
this.
the wrong one?
No,
Oh, this is still before.
this is still before.
Okay, so it's gonna get worse?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
because now they've got every direction hitting my yard.
okay.
On both sides of the roads, all draining into my yard. You know, when I moved out there, first thing I asked before I ever bought the place is, does this flood? No, it's never flooded. Well, it's fixing to. Now, this is the first rain we had. What little bit we've had this year. Since they've been all the drain to get to our yard. This is all the second. And before they did this, I never had mud in my culvert, which y'all informed me is our culvert. We have to replace if something goes wrong with it. Well, now you guys have got this much mud in it. Which, and I have somebody that walked through it way before all this. And so they could come in and tell you there was no mud in my culvert. Well, now there's a lot of blockage.
Well, I was at your house, what, a year or so ago, and I didn't see it was a pretty decent, nice.
Yeah, but we still have everything draining into our yard. Now they filled the ditch up. They said they'll come and take care of it, but okay, I'm wanting to know when, because if it rains like it did back in 2016, our place is gonna flood. I don't have flood insurance on my house. Because I don't need it, I'm 10 foot above the dam. But not the way the county's got. I don't know why everything's got to drain in our yard. I don't understand.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
We did
Well-
not add any culverts to change.
we know this. You guys dug all the ditches
We
out.
cleaned everything up.
To where it, now you cleaned everything but our side, where everything runs.
Okay, I talked to you about that,
And I told you, I didn't have a problem with it until it started to flood.
and so now we're gonna go clean it up.
As in, but I want to know when. I don't want to wait till my house floods before you guys decide to come and clean it
Well, I
up.
was hoping to get to it quicker, but now you know the weather moved in, so.
But we don't realize this.
but-
But I also
Okay.
do know that there's a list, I've been told, that you gotta get on to get anything done, or you have friends that are county commissioners that's high up that you can get anything done. Like the road going east of us.
So, but you said you didn't do anything, but
We
obviously
didn't
you've done
add-
something to
We
cause
didn't
this.
add any culverts. There's no more water going that way. It's all.
Oh, yes, there is. You guys have dug out.
We are,
We cleaned the ditches. and
all
then-
around that originally was coming to your ditch. We have cleaned those out, we just haven't cleaned your ditch out now.
So
Oh,
what
okay,
is-
so you have to continue
Yes,
then.
we have to continue, but at that time, she was a little bit concerned about us tearing her yard up, cutting a tree or a bush out by the
I know,
intersection. So
I said, we didn't care about
first
the-
wanted to try this
Yeah.
before we tore her yard up. And since she got on the agenda, we have talked and we have made arrangements, and then this weather has hit. We don't wanna tear her yard up even more by trying to get this taken care of, because she wants a ditch to where she can mow. They keep their yard very nice. And we wanna respect that. So we just need to get in there when the timing is right and try to clean her ditch out, and we're gonna have to go on to see even more private to be able to make sure that water keeps dropping like it's supposed to.
But I don't even understand why everything from the east, everything from the west, everything from the south and north, all drained. All of it drains.
That was
2
Corps of Engineers back in the 60s. That originally was that way back then, and we just went and cleaned it up.
Okay, so I guess what we need to do then is, since you recognize that you cleaned it up
Mhm.
and that you still need to continue to clean it up because you don't
Now
want
that we've seen what has happened now, that we've cleaned all the other stuff up, now we got an issue there that we need to address, and that's what we've talked to her about.
But did you
Okay,
guys,
and-
I didn't realize that we're gonna have all the rain from every direction, from both sides of the road, coming to my yard. I just can't even fathom that.
But that's how it was originally back however many years when they'd all designed that. We never added any more tubes or anything like that. We kept everything original.
So Jesse, when do you think you'll be able to get out there and get this done?
I don't know with this weather.
What weather?
It's been wet. We're gonna have to get on her yard a little bit. As wide as we gotta make her ditch to make it mowable, we're gonna have to get on the yard, and we're gonna make ruts, and she's not gonna like that any. As upset as she is now, she ain't gonna like ruts
The
in
only
her
thing I'm
yard.
worried about is my house flooding.
We understand that. We're
Obviously, you
not-
don't. I mean, because really,
wanna help you.
seriously, you guys ought to have known about this before I ever moved out there. I can't even imagine that Mr. Ehrlich didn't say something to you guys.
I can tell you for 32 years, it's never been touched. This was original. I don't think this culvert, probably the original culvert that was there. What they're talking about back in the, when the dam and all was
Yeah.
done, because you see it halfway full. But Mr. Ehrlich has never complained or nothing like that, so. I mean, I've drove by this for 32 years and watched what, it's just to fill in, and it does. It fills in from a lot of up north. I think everything north of there for at least a mile and a half
Yep,
to the
drains in my
cemetery.
yard. Everything
Comes
from the
down, I mean,
west.
that's just on the north side of the road or the west side of the road, just, it has a ditch coming clear from the church and all the
We
way
had
up. my
everything
singers and
from
everything.
even the east, the south is coming down to us now, because the way they did it, they made
Not
all
from the
that
south.
from the south. Oh, you come out and look at, everything drains. We sit there and watched it, first of all, but.
South is south of you towards the dam.
Right, but it
So it
also
comes
has
back
that
to
hill.
him.
It comes back to us. Because
I-
they dug out the ditch from Jared's, Whiteman's house,
Well, that's over on the east. East
south,
of you.
okay, east side of the road, south of us.
Mhm.
Okay, they dug that ditch out, so now all that comes down to us too. All that filled soot's coming over to us because where they dug the ditches out. There's no other culvert but that one that they dug the hole in, the big deeper hole, which is now filled in again.
There's some comes from the south because that's the way that was designed.
So like I said, everything.
We did not create that though, that was the way it was designed. There's a break there where some of it goes through Whiteman's Drive and the rest of it comes this way.
Does it go out and leave the ditch on the west side of the road and then go out in the field somewhere right past her house?
Just south of her
Just south of the
place,
house,
it
yes.
goes,
Takes off towards the field,
right out to
yes.
the-
That is a natural design that
And
goes
that's
that
where
way,
we
yes.
actually have to go out into that and find the dropping point, the low point to
The
get
low point to come back to it.
Yes, so we'll have to be on private on this whole deal.
Ooh, that's gonna be Daryl's, because Daryl still owns that south of us.
Well, that's the way it's naturally meant to go though, right through there.
Well, I don't have a problem going through there. What I have a problem is just gonna continue, because they've done your dirt work, it's filling in my ditch. Because before, there was a big hole in front of my culvert. Obviously, you can see there's no holes in front of my culvert.
It's
Okay,
on top of
now,
our agenda. We are fully aware of it. We want to get it done.
So you said it's on the top of your agenda,
Yes.
so that means,
I don't know. I'm not going to give a date. I have no clue with this weather. I'm
Well,
not going to give a specific
I
date.
can understand that too. I do understand.
I have no
But
clue.
all I'm gonna say right here in front of everybody, if it floods my house, this is not over. Cause our
Okay.
house don't have a sump pump, but it has never had water in the basement.
okay, so the only point that I'm trying to make, Jesse, is I understand that you don't wanna give a date, but you can give an idea of a date. I mean,
Before next spring's rains?
Of course, yes.
Okay, but
so
that's a
let's
better
just
idea.
say, are you gonna do it maybe by the end of the month or by the end of?
I don't know. What if we start getting hit with nothing but snow? You can't see anything.
Okay,
Okay,
what
but
happens if we
wait a
go from a wet winter to a wet spring and I get flooded? Now what?
We're going to try to make it happen.
So
I'm
how
sure of
wet
that.
is it right there at your yard right
It's
now?
pretty wet.
It is.
Well,
so
because
you
nothing
said
can
they
drain.
can't.
It's
Okay.
all, yeah, nothing's draining. It stays right there in that yard now, because they, like I said, they made that fill in with the soot there. You know, they did dig a hole on our side where that, all from the other side of the road drains over to us. But then that filled in the first time it rained. And then now all that soot just come over on us. So now, yeah, it ain't draining.
You
And so
can't do a
that's
lot
what-
of that from the road, or at least the majority of it from the road.
We can get a lot, but we may not be able to finish it like the way she would like to. And that may be one of our options to get in there quicker. Just work from the road, and then at a later date, we may be able to get in there. And then find.
Yeah, I can understand that, because I don't want my yard, because we do try to keep it mowed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that makes my husband now, you can't mow down there. There's this much silt, you're gonna
Yeah.
sink that mower.
But even if it runs over the road, it's still not gonna flood your house.
Well, let me see,
That road, that house is sitting so high.
Yeah.
this one's getting up
We had
there
a
pretty
7-inch
close, and this was
rain.
this is in
Yeah.
2016, before they
Yeah.
touched anything.
So even if it goes over the road though, it's not gonna flood your house.
Well, like I said, I'll just bring it to your attention, because if it does. this is-
Okay, so I guess my question is, would you be okay if they do the work they can do from the road? I mean, it may not be,
Oh, yeah, I have
that way
no
it would
problem with that.
drain, it would drain,
Yes,
and then at a later date, they can come back and do
as long as they
what.
come back in and make it where we can mow it, because that's one of the things, my husband's big on this mowing thing.
So
Yeah.
you could solve the problem, you could solve the
We can
problem
try to
of the
help
water
with this.
building up and the soot coming through the road, am I right? Is that what you're telling me?
And do I need to go talk to Daryl? Because I
No,
don't
we
have a
will.
problem going talking to Daryl.
We'll talk to them.
We can do that.
Would that ditch probably, when it's done, Jesse, probably need to be 2 to 3 foot lower?
Yeah.
That's
They
the
want
way
to
it
figure.
looks. I mean, that's the way it looks just from looking at it,
It looks like
driving
it's
up
gonna
to
go
it.
pretty deep, Janice.
Yeah.
We know
Quite a bit of
this.
material there to move.
Okay, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've already
Yeah,
put
it is.
over a foot of mud in it.
Okay, okay. Just so you know.
Well, no more than that, really, because like I said, I had a deep ditch on each side, I mean, deep hole below my culvert. Now we don't.
So they'll clean all that out, correct me if I'm wrong. You'll clean all that out so that the flow that you said that's naturally there is gonna continue to flow through her culvert and then continue to go where it needs to
We'll
go.
put it back to the way they had it when they put it in first.
Yeah. Okay,
It'll be
so-
close.
And what you
It's
can
not
do from the
exact.
road, you'll do, and that'll
And,
take care of
yeah.
that, so you don't have to worry about your house flooding. And
Some of the
then-
water from the south, you're saying that was designed when they put the lake in to,
Well, from the
Yeah.
east side, there's
Yeah.
a crossroad that we dug out. That's where the silt mainly came through that crossroad, because that was the freshest dirt from the east side.
That's where all the silt come from.
And we dug hers out, and it actually filled that back in. I mean, you know, when you got all this powdery,
yeah,
we didn't have rain all summer, and it was powdery, and then all of a sudden here we had the rain,
a lot
and
of
it was
it's
getting
good.
worse. And yeah, that created a.
I don't understand, because we're gonna have to involve Daryl in this too. Why can't they put another culvert a little bit further south of us, just in that low spot? Right before you get to our gas meter, there's a low spot there. That way, that part from the south ain't draining down into me. At least some of that would go over and just automatically go to that ditch that's there,
A crossroad on that paved road.
you know? I don't know if you can, because I know I've been told that's the Corps' road, I've been told that's the county's road. You know, I don't know whose road it is.
Well, I mean, it's a county road. The Pawnee is county road. Now, as far as going back to you, we checked the right of way on that, and when we said that that wasn't our culvert, that's something in the future, if there is a problem with the culvert later on, you'll probably have to talk to commission, because is completely off of our right of way, totally on yours. So that's what we meant by that, was not just saying, you know, we're
Well,
not
I
taking
understand it's not
responsibility.
your culvert, so then,
But we also have a deal to where when we do work and the damage is caused by something that we do,
Yes, if we cause it, then we, yeah,
then we replace that culvert.
correct. If we cause the damage, yes.
well, I'm assuming that thing's probably been there 40 or 50 years, as you guys keep saying, all this has been like this for 40 or 50 years. Well, actually, since 1964, when that house was put in there. That culvert hasn't been damaged, but now it's got like this much mud in it.
Well, they'll clean it out.
We'll get it
You know, he's
cleaned
saying
out.
they'll clean it out. And then they'll drain it, make it so that it'll drain, but just so long as you know that it's gonna be deep, you're gonna have a big
We know,
deep.
well, as long as Gary can get that mower,
Well, he won't until they come back.
we know that.
Okay,
Well, we hopefully ain't mowing until
yeah, okay,
spring.
okay, so then I assume you're gonna go take care of that part of it.
And I'll go ahead and call Darryl and give him a heads up because I love him for him.
Okay,
Because, yeah, I'm just over my place flooding.
so we good?
I am.
Okay. Yay,
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
all right, thank you. You guys have anything else? Okay, thank you, thank you. Well, we've come to the end of the agenda. So, let's see, you come up, Mike, for a reason, I assume, or just to say hi?
All the above.
Okay. I'm gonna let you go ahead and take your time, what you have to bring before
Oh,
us.
getting asked a lot about redistricting. Everybody will have their own opinion. My first thought would be to leave the 3 districts as they are and add a at-large for the east side and the west side of the county.
I don't think you can do that by statute.
Well, that's what I was somewhat advised.
I think the statute clearly says that each district has to be as compact as close to population. So therefore, it
Correct.
actually has to be an area with population.
Yet I've been told that there is a avenue other than that, but I'm not here, I don't know, I'm not gonna go there.
So,
Our next thought would be, do they about have to follow township lines or precinct lines too? Is that the breakdown, or am I misunderstood?
I didn't read anything in the statute that says they have to follow any definite lines. Now, going by townships is the easiest because they're already there.
Yeah. Well, my thought is our next best plan to be fair representation with city, rural, and I guess I'm here on a rural issue, would be to pick a mile line by population and make 5 districts from the north end to the south end on a mile line by population.
It would be nice if you could do
That where you would get the lower rural areas on the south end of the county, the north end, and have a representative basically from one end of the county to the other. Now where that would come through Marion or Hillsborough or the lake, I don't know either without, I think there's a census deal that would determine that, but my thought is if you used a mile line, say by population, at least look at that of where that would break. And this is just my thoughts. And have some people that think, well, that's as good an idea as they've heard so far. And I think I mentioned something to Kent. Kent says, well, come to the commission, give us your thoughts. You know, we're here to look, we're trying to do what's best, I think, for everybody. Population, I think, will play into it as well as, I would like to see each commissioner have some rural. If we do exactly what, I think, not to be biased to Hillsborough, Marion, but they're gonna want their own commissioner just for their cities. To me, that's,
But understand, Mike, and I've heard
and
that before.
I'm not 100% opposed if that's how it comes down, but we're just looking at, this is what I think would be the most fair and reasonable. If we could break it on a mile line and get close to the population, or at least look at that, where it breaks by population in 5 sectors. And in one, it will give rural areas along with some of the city area. And across representation from rural to city, I guess is how to explain it. And that's just something that I would like us to explore or see that line, if we could figure that out. Just on a mile line would be the easiest, and then look back to townships or something. And if we don't, and I can't make you do it, but I think it's something that we should look at and try to get that mile line figured out where that, on the population, then look at it from there, or I would be, I mean, unless I need to take this task on myself personally, I don't know how else to explain my concern or concerns of some of our rural area people.
So I will explain to you what I'm coming up with here, and this is just from what I read from statute and talked to other people and working on these lines. If you do like you said, because that was kind of thought about and kind of looked at, okay, when I was just playing with all these numbers and stuff, by going to the statute to keep the population as close to possible in each district, okay? If you go by just mile lines, you can't split Hillsborough. Then if you split Hillsborough, then Hillsborough will have 2 representatives. Can't do that. If you split any of the cities and they have 2 representatives, you can't do that. So that fell through on that part because we can't have any
I
of the
would
cities.
almost think that's better than having them just being one by themselves.
Well, the problem is, and somebody said to me one time, well,
And
okay,
again,
if
that's my
Hillsborough
opinion.
gets their representative, then they're gonna want everything for Hillsborough. Well, that's probably true, but that means 2 other commissioners have to go along with it and want Hillsborough to have everything as well. Now, what's the probability of that? Possible, but unlikely. So, I mean, they still only have 1 representative, but if Hillsborough is by itself. And by population, Hillsborough has 2,850 people. It's pretty big. But if you divide that in any fashion, then that means going further west, then that area gets more population, then I get more population. I mean, it's just, man, I bounced those numbers all over the place. And the only way you can change the lines is on the line of the townships, because that's where the state has their census reports divided into the townships. to
Like I
stay with
said,
the
I've
state
been asked a lot,
population.
and we've thrown a few things out there, and, you know, I'm hearing the bits and pieces about what can or can't happen, the probabilities of what can or can't happen.
And there's a lot
And
of,
before I give somebody the wrong information or say, well, it can't be this way and it can, when we discuss it amongst ourselves,
I guess the
I'm
best
trying to
thing
be a
is
little bit more
to let the
informed
commission
myself.
look at it seriously and see what we come up with. What I put out was just I worked on it
And
very
then there's
hard.
the deal of, you know, everybody's asking, well, when does this go in effect? And
The townships will be decided by December 31st. By statute, we have to have them already
broke
decided.
down already.
And if
by
we
then.
don't, the Secretary of State will come in and do it. That's the way it is. So I think we'll probably have it done. We'll just make a time and do it, and then after we all get together here and decide, and people still have questions, or if there's other ways, but
There's a lot of things come in play. I don't know whether your plan or what. Somebody said in the paper, I got a phone call, that you had Catlin and Peabody split district. Well, Peabody's half the city districts over here on this side, so that makes it hard. I think any town that we're going to go around, that becomes something to look at, is how it is going to split, because if somebody in town here happens to own property up here that maybe they're thinking about building a new house on, why, it automatically throws you into a new district.
But that's the way it is right now.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
it isn't.
no, I mean,
Catlins.
even with the splits right now, we have that same situation where there are some cities that
Well-
are on the lines, and they go into other townships.
Well, and that's something that we need to look at and just see how see if we can keep from doing that, I mean, somehow.
And we're 100% sure we don't think we can leave the 3 districts and just have an east and a west, as far as we know.
No, we can't do that. Am I, you're agreeing with me,
Well,
right,
there is-
Ashley? I hear
I
you.
don't believe you can.
I don't think so either. I'm pretty positive.
I just wanted to make sure that there is no avenue for that.
Who says that we've seen all of the statutes says we can't go to special legislation and do something else like that?
Well, there's
You mean
the main
like an
statute.
at-large?
Yeah. I know it takes time, because
Yeah.
you'd have to get something through to peek into.
Yeah.
It would have to be
That would
approved from
take
further.
forever.
It takes too much time.
Yeah.
Have to be approved from other than the county staff.
Okay, so right now, wait, I'm looking at the way it was before.
I just don't wanna misinform anybody either when
I think it's a little early because we really haven't got to it yet, Mike. You know, I know everybody
We're
has
talking
that
about being
question,
done in
but,
the next 40 days, so.
yeah, right. So if you'll look the way it was before, this is the way it was before?
No, this is the one that, this is the way it is, right here.
Okay, this is the way it is right now. Yeah. It's really something that we need to get into, and we just haven't done it yet, Mike. It's just
We've
too
got to
early.
set up a meeting, and I'd like to set it up here within the next 2 weeks sometime.
Well, I think we should, yes.
And,
Mhm.
because first,
I mean, with some, not say have a real big public meeting initially, but have,
I don't think so.
Anybody
It's
come?
actually by statute to be done by the commission. And I think there's so
I
many
mean, just
opinions out
inform us
there,
how the.
you don't want to have a late call deal.
and I'll tell you, the public wants this. I've heard that you've stated in the paper that you don't think there'd be a election. I think a special election is probably on the agenda for me. That's,
I said that, you know, I said in the paper that it could be appointed or a special election. I said special election would cost some money, so I didn't think that's the way it would go, but that's not the way it could go that way.
Yeah.
It is an option.
Well, then it's like, well, can you set it up and you implement it in 2020 with our next election? I mean, would it?
I think that's also.
Is that a possibility to where we get away from a special election or any appointments? Even though we've approved it, we're going to put it almost 2 years in the making.
No, there's so many days until the people are seated as well. Once we designate, this is where I understand it, and I may be wrong, but if we have to have those districts established by the end of the year, Mike, okay, so now you got 5 districts already established, okay? You can't have 2 districts without representation,
Well, we can set the district, but we don't make the change.
but you can't do that.
Well, I'm just,
That's what I'm saying.
gee,
You can't do
I'm
that.
here
You have to
asking
fill in
questions.
January.
Yeah, you have to fill them, and you have so many
Okay.
days after they're designated to fill them. And it's
So,
not a year
so
or
a
two.
special election may come.
Well, I would
with-
agree a special election would be best, but I don't think realistically you can do that.
Where
I thought-
you
Well, I
can't.
mean, you can, but are we gonna charge the taxpayers another 10 grand to have another election? That's what it's gonna cost.
Well, we don't know that that's what it's gonna cost, but I'm just saying, that's what
Well,
I
I think
said.
we do, yeah, we do.
It is expensive, but that's what I said. I didn't think it would be
Again, I'm here
that way
just to,
too.
you know, whether we should
I mean,
have a regular meeting and I attend it or something if you discuss this, but I'm just here with a lot of people asking me what I think, so.
Well,
we're in
it's,
the
like I
future,
said, it's
we're-
still early, and we haven't had a chance to even sit down and, I
Yeah.
think that's the first step, is let the commission actually sit down and.
Set some initial ground rules
Would you
that
like
we'll
to
put
try
it on
to
the
work
calendar?
with.
Yes, please.
Do you know when?
Oh,
You guys would like
well,
to talk
okay,
about
let's,
it?
you wanna go ahead and set a date right now?
I have to
For
probably.
meeting number 1. Okay, I'm pretty much, what do you look like?
We can
Lisa?
add it,
This
to
week?
one of your meetings.
No, I didn't say
just
this
one of the
week, but-
meetings.
We need
Uh,
one.
next week I'll be gone from Wednesday on.
So you're saying you'll be gone from the 21st through Friday?
Yeah,
Okay, you're gone.
so I'd have Monday and Tuesday. I
Tuesday,
could
I've
do
got a
something
meeting.
I
Tuesday.
got meetings Tuesday as well.
And you said
Well-
you had something Tuesday.
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
Do you want to add it to one of your meetings, or are you wanting to make this a special meeting?
How busy?
Be hard to add to an agenda.
Yeah, I
How
would be.
busy are we to the 19th?
I'd rather do a special meeting.
You would?
I would, yeah.
What about what's that last week, 20s? What's that on do we have anything on Wednesday? Do we have anything other than the regular meeting?
On Wednesday, we don't have a regular meeting on
Yeah.
Wednesday, do we?
Have a payday 30th.
Yeah.
Payday the 30th.
Right. So what about like the 28th?
The 28th, we have somebody in here from 2 to 5.
Well, we could do it in the morning.
Yeah. Or you're already here on payday in the afternoon. You can make a special meeting.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, I know you only want that only payday, but
I don't care. We need to just really get with it because we do have to have it done.
we
and
could go into
established.
payday.
Yeah, because conceivably we're gonna have to have another meeting.
Yeah. Could set it on the 30th.
not on 30th. Okay.
You want to set it on the 30th?
Payday after an hour and a half of payday and then go into the meeting.
Do that?
Fine.
Okay, fine with me. So in
But
the
I-
meantime, Mike, it would be good to just tell people, just hold on, we're gonna work it out.
But I'd like to have all the rules laid out in front of us too here.
Yeah, and that
because-
gives Tina time
Yes,
to
yes.
get all the correct information from you
Yeah,
guys.
because I'm hearing we can be seated by January of.
And like I said, in my case, I hear from this, that, other
Yeah.
people, even on some legal side saying, well, you could do this, you could do that. I'm like, okay.
Well, there's a lot of,
What is the?
there's a lot of misconception or misinformation
Or if you
because,
get down to
when you
written
look,
law,
when you look at
interpretation of
other,
written
you look
law
at
is
other
always a
boards,
good side.
like school boards and stuff, they've always had at-large.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't know of any other county that has an at-large commissioner, do you?
I haven't heard of any, but I'm gonna have to ask Randall that, I guess. That'd be the best thing, person to
Okay,
ask.
yeah, that's a good person to ask. And he's done it the end of this year.
Randall is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
they have,
first of
they
December.
appointed somebody else, so he'll be,
It's probably time.
he was 20-some years.
Yeah, he's been there every time I've been there.
So, anything else, Mike?
no, just
No other subject matter?
been some conversations, the experts that are out there.
They're nice, quiet, calm.
I don't know if there's ever many
conversations.
experts in this. Because it'd be nice to know how long it's been since a county even redistricted in this state.
Oh, it hasn't been that long. I was at a meeting to where there was one that had just done it within the last 5 years, and I can't tell you right offhand which one it was, but I can find out. But anyway,
It was a bigger city, bigger county.
it was a bigger county. But yeah. But anyway, okay.
Go from
So, do you have anything else then, Mike?
Don't know, like, write 6 lottery numbers for tomorrow night or something.
If I did, I wouldn't tell you that.
I'd tell you, but I might not tell you wrong.
Do you have anything you want to add? Thank you. Ashley?
We do have the apps to go through if you want to.
Yes. So let's not adjourn, or do we want to adjourn? No, we just go into the apps now and go into executive session. Okay.
5 minutes.